Welcome back to a bonus Star Wars character tier list video. In this video, we're going to be going over a handful of Sith that I neglected to do the first time around. After I released all of my videos, I saw one common comment throughout all of the shorts and all the videos, which was, how could you put those Sith in Don't Care? To clear it up, they weren't in Don't Care, but they were in Don't Know. I did not know enough about them, so I decided instead of making a poor rank and putting them in somewhere where they didn't belong, I'll just put them down at the bottom to be ranked later on. Well, after all of that, I decided to do my research. I read up, I watched a lot of stuff, and now I'm coming to you with this video, which is now the official last Star Wars character tier list video. So buckle up and let's do this. Also, I have this beautiful background because I thought it's appropriate. So as you can see, I had them down at the bottom here. I have Nihilus, Malak, Revan, Malgus, and I have Bastila Shan here as well. She's not a Sith, but she does do some dark side Sith work in the mix, so we'll rank her as well. And then I have a little added bonus here, which is Darth Bane. I just finished the first book of the Darth Bane trilogy, so I decided, even though that's not the full trilogy, I'm going to rank him based off of that, and I think you'll enjoy the rank. As you can also see, I added a Legendary Plus here, because there's one Sith that I'm going to rank first that does not belong in Legendary, but I don't feel like he makes Supreme in my personal opinion, so I think he's better than all of these, so I'm going to put him in Legendary Plus. The Sith we're going to start with is Darth Malgus, the one that I'm going to place in Legendary Plus. I'm sure I'm ruffling somebody's feathers, and if you hate it, I apologize. Actually, not really. Darth Malgus is a ruthless beefcake of a Sith, and he is the Sith that is dueling against many Jedi in multiple Old Republic trailers. He is the beefcake of a Sith that is within the Old Republic, and he is the Sith they're battling against. The first time we see him, he is fighting with his master against the Jedi in space to reclaim the planet Korriban for the Sith. In doing so, he defeats the Jedi. He then executes his master because the master failed, and that's like how the Sith do it. He is now reigned to power. He then goes to try to claim Alderaan, gets his butt kicked by the Jedi and a trooper, gets his face all jacked up, and then in the process, he puts on a mask, falls in love with a Twi'lek, and him and his wife and all these other Sith go and sack the Jedi Temple, which is insane. I'm sure there are other pieces of Star Wars where the Sith sack and do all kinds of stuff to the Jedi, but I personally have never heard of the Sith taking over the Jedi Temple like that, aside from Darth Sidious doing it post Order 66. So that's crazy. And I think the kicker for me that makes him the most ruthless Sith, maybe not the most, but one of the most ruthless Sith, is that he ends up killing his wife because he knew that she was a weakness and that he wasn't able to fully embrace the dark side until he did it. So he killed his wife, and in doing so, it actually made him more powerful because the anger and the sorrow of killing his wife made him embrace the dark side even more. He's an insane Sith, and for that, I'm placing him at Legendary Plus. We're going to skip Malak and Revan for this second, and we're going to do Darth Nihilus. I'm going to put Darth Nihilus at Supreme. This Sith is absolutely insane. A human male who was alive at the end and during the Mandalorian Civil War, and it was insane what this Sith could do. Nihilus craved the Force, and by doing so, he would absorb and take the Force from other Force beings and put it into himself and contained that within himself. It got so crazy, he got so powerful, his body started to erode and deteriorate. So he pulled the spirit from his body and placed it within robes and armor and let the dark side consume his actual living body, and through the Force just contained himself within this robe and armor. That alone just makes him utterly insane and powerful. I mean, for a Force being to be able to do that, to me, just is baffling. Utterly insane. He's supreme. We'll do Bastila Shan, and I think we're going to stick her at Legendary. I think she is an awesome character, the wife of Darth Revan. She then gets captured by Darth Malak and turned to the dark side. Darth Revan then, or at that time, Revan, who is now back to the Jedi because of Bastila Shan, Revan helps her get back to the Jedi Order, where she remains for the rest of her days. Bastila Shan was also part of the Jedi squad that went to go battle Darth Revan and turn him back to the light side. In doing so, they wiped his memory, which is what we'll get more into when we do Darth Revan. She's awesome, and she belongs in Legendary for me. Then we come down to Darth Revan and Darth Malak. Their story is very intertwined, so I'm going to rank them both and then discuss them both. Darth Malak and Darth Revan are both supreme. Now, I had already ranked Darth Revan as legendary. That was a mistake, because I had read the Darth Revan book a very long time ago, but I realized I had forgotten most of the book, and I read it when I was really young, so I didn't really retain what was in that book. I just listened to the audiobook within a week. It was fantastic. It was a phenomenal book. I really enjoyed the book. Darth Revan and Darth Malak were both friends during the Mandalorian War, and they fought together. They came up against the Emperor and were turned to the dark side. As they fought together as Sith, the Emperor put into their brains his plan to destroy the Jedi. But as they did so, that whole plan turned into their own plan, and it got distorted within their own brain, and they were doing their own quest and just trying to destroy the Sith. Through all of that, Jedi actually turned to the dark side with them. After a while, because they were Sith and not Jedi pals anymore, Malak and Darth Revan both craved power more than the other, and they had a duel. In that duel, Darth Revan sliced the jaw off of Darth Malak, and now he has this little thing over his mouth to hide the gaping hole in his face. During this conquest, Darth Revan came up against Jedi, Bastila Shan. This Jedi task force took down Darth Revan and brainwashed him, making him forget everything about him being a Sith, which then pushed him to become a Jedi again, and he married Bastila Shan, and that's where the book picks up. In the book, he's trying to find remnants of his past and his memories, and he's trying to piece things together, and in doing so, he takes his Mandalorian buddy, and he goes and reclaims the Mandalorian mask for the Mandalorian. During this, he gets captured by Scourge and Nyrus, and they take him to their facility, and he's there for, I think, 4 to 5 years as their prisoner, and Scourge is torturing him and interrogating him constantly, trying to get information from him about why he was there and what he's doing. Within that 4 years, there is this Jedi called the Outcast who went and was fighting with Revan during the Mandalorian War. She goes to Bastila Shan and she figures out, you know what? I'm going to go save him. So she takes Revan's droid, goes, and in that process meets up with Scourge. Scourge wants to prevent the Emperor from starting another hyperspace war, so he is willing to join up with the Jedi, which is this outcast, to rescue Revan and then destroy the Emperor. So they do that. They go, they save Revan, they destroy Nyrus, and then they go and they battle the Emperor. Before that, there's a whole big backstory, but Scourge has a vision of a Jedi, which is not Revan, destroying the Emperor. So he betrays them, and he kills the outcast, and then Revan is captured once again. But in this entire book, Revan is just this powerful force. And even while he's with the Mandalorian, and he's fighting along with the Mandalorians, and they're trying to reclaim this mask, he is trying to hide that he is Revan because the Mandalorians do not like Revan. He killed hundreds, if not thousands of them. But then he has to protect them, and there's this scene in the book where he just wipes out all of these other raiders, and even though it's within a book and you're not like visualizing it, if you have a good imagination, you can imagine how freaking awesome he was. Then you skip to the end, and when he's fighting the Emperor, no one can really best the Emperor, but Revan made him like sweat. At one point, the Emperor fires like 3 lightning strikes at Revan. He deflects one, he force pushes the other out of the way and deflects a second, and then he like deflects one of them back to the Emperor. And the Emperor's like stumbling around, and you're like, this dude is insane. Like, Revan could honestly destroy the Emperor if it wasn't for Scourge and him ruining the whole thing. They would have succeeded, but Scourge ruined it. Then, as a kicker for Revan, fast forward hundreds of years, I think if maybe 100, I'm not sure the actual years. He is in the Old Republic video game. He comes back, and he's trying to resurrect the Emperor to finally wipe him out forever. In doing so, the Sith and the Jedi band together again to defeat Revan. In this process, Revan has two spirits. His dark side is holding his physical body together, and then his light side force is within the cosmic force. What? That's insane. You don't hear that. And if you do hear that, leave in the comments the book I should go read to figure that out, because I would like to read way more on that. But, I mean, Revan, for me, legendary was an understatement when I put him there. Malak is also a crazy Sith. He, kind of like Nihilus, he steals the Force and drains the Force out of other Jedi and Sith, I'm sure, and he trying to make himself more powerful. That right there is just like Nihilus, is insane. That they're taking the Force from other beings and making themselves even stronger. He then comes up against Revan while Revan is a Jedi at this point, and Revan defeats him, and Malak concedes that he regrets what he did in fighting against Revan, and he goes in peace. Same as Revan. But those two are absolutely insane, and I'm glad I am coming back around to re-rank them and being able to put them in Supreme. Now, to end with Darth Bane. Now, this rank will change in the future once I finish the other two books, but for right now, he is Legendary Plus, and he's this far away from Supreme. He's gonna be in Supreme. This is just based off of the first book, but Darth Bane will be Supreme. Don't sweat. Save the comments. Don't worry. He will be in Supreme after I finish the second two books. Darth Bane, Path of Destruction is the book everyone needs to listen to or to read when you want to see the origins of a Sith. You see someone who's angry with his life and the cards he's been dealt, and he throws in his lot with the Sith during the Old Republic. Now, this is, I think, 1,000 years after Revan, and during this, he goes and he joins the Sith. He becomes very powerful. He learns from his instructors and his masters. They cast him aside when he gets defeated, but then he comes back to say, hey, listen, I'm willing to do what it takes to become the most powerful Sith. At that point in time, they don't use the title Darth. They use Dark Lord of the Sith, and he's saying, no. What's that? So he goes off on his own. He leaves the temple and he goes to a planet and he finds Sith holocrons. Within those holocrons are messages and recordings from Darth Revan while he was a Sith. As he's listening to those, it becomes more clear and he's finding clarity on what he needs to do, which is defeat all of the Sith and bring back the rule of two. Because when there are all of these Sith, they're just a threat to his power. But the reason why the Dark Lord of the Sith, they don't like this title of Darth is it invites insurrection and betrayal because people are always wanting to up the next one. But he wants the title of Darth because he wants to show and let everyone know that he's the supreme Sith at that time. So no one should be going up against him. And in the first book, he does that and he becomes Darth Bane. Absolutely sick. He's Legendary Plus for the time being, but he 100% will be getting moved to Supreme once his story continues and it gets way better. Dude's freaking insane. Love Darth Bane. But that is it. The actual, and I mean it this time, the end of the Star Wars character tier list. I've officially ranked the Sith, and I'm not doing this out of peer pressure. I'm doing this simply out of how I feel in my opinion. If it was out of peer pressure, you probably would all like me to put all of these Sith in Supreme, but I didn't do that. But it is true. These three are definitely Nihilus, Malak, and Revan are Supreme. Malgus is Legendary Plus, and Darth Bane is Legendary Plus until I put him in Supreme later. This is officially the end of this tier list. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe on this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.